I come from the land base called Salida along the Columbia River. We call it the one big river. We don't like Columbia River because they never even move. And so it's Moana to us. And we still have canoe families that participate every year. The younger generation are getting involved and enjoying healthy lifestyle. And we're probably the most, how do you say it, ethnocentric, equal, male and female. And so when we enter this longhouse, we bring our foods, and the men bring in their salmon and their deer and elk. They cook it, they serve it, and take care of it. Equally as women, we come in with our roots and our berries and any other food. We eat all kinds of food with the seasons. So I just wanted to give a brief description. We treasure our hair, and the men and women wear long hair, and this is otter fur. The otter fur is the fun animal, the happy, friendly animal. And so this is what I'm wearing, and because it's Seattle, I didn't bring my moccasins.
I'm from the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. My name is Shirley Allen. As you can see, we have 2 different languages. There's 3 tribes that make up the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. We have the Waskoplum, Itchishkin, and Anu, meaning the people. You just heard of our previous speaker, she's Navajo. A lot of people don't know that the Paiute people are a large mass group. We take up Oregon, Nevada, California, and Idaho, and even Arizona. So we're just as big as the Navajo. A lot of people don't understand that the Nunu people were the last ones battling the United States. You might have heard of the Shoshone-Bannock Wars, and we're the only tribe that are non-treaty signers in the United States. We did not sign a treaty with them. We were placed in different reservations and areas by executive order only. And I think that when we're talking about sovereignty, and we're talking about food sovereignty, I can gather anywhere in our custom practice, anywhere where my ancestors gathered without permission. I don't need to show them that I am Paiute. That is sovereignty. Because we did not sign a treaty stating we're only going to gather here, we're only going to do this in this particular time of year. No, we did not sign a treaty with the United States. So we get to gather, hunt, fish, everything, or whenever we want to, where we are usually fish before tribes became tribes. And I think that's very important to know and understand that, because some people are bound by a treaty, and which is, some people that, like I said, the 2 other tribes that are part of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, they are bound by those laws. They are bound by, okay, we can only hunt this time of year. We can only fish this time. Like right now, our spring fish salmon run is going on the Columbia River, and the United States has a compact with the Northwest Territory stating, well, they can only, so much salmon can pass, and I think it was up to 60,000, and they're done. They're cut off. No more spring fishing, no more. So like now they can't fish. They're done until the count goes back up. And to me, that's not sovereign. That's not food sovereignty. That's something that was taken from us. So, like Aurolyn said, when we honor the food and we bring it, we always pay that homage of land acknowledgement, like we just heard, paying our sister tribes here. And I like to speak up like my sister from the Southwest. If you want to be sovereign, you got to practice that sovereignty. Don't just say we're sovereign. You actually got to go and be sovereign. And I work construction, so I travel all over Central Oregon, and right now I'm working in the John Day area, and that's originally our area for hunting and gathering food. So I bring my rifle with me because we used to hunt at this time. The state of Oregon has our tribe hunting in the rut, and I don't know if you understand if you've ever cased a rutting deer that's in rut, meaning they're ready to mate. They're very, very stinky. They're not very good. And when they gather their eels, they're gathering them at the lower part of the Willamette, and that's not, to me, that's not food sovereignty. That's not stating that. But we're not enacting it. So I'm really glad that she was here, be proactive. I like to be proactive when I use those words too, because when you're dealing with people from the state or fish and wildlife or game, you have to use those words to like smooth over what you're doing. So, and it's kind of hard. It's really hard. Like she said, she's gone to jail. I've been in jail for other reasons, but yeah. But I found out too. It's hard because you want to be sovereign. That's your right as just a human being. I mean, I think everybody, not just Indigenous people, but everybody has a right to feed their family good food. Everybody has a right to do that. But being Indigenous, because we have nuances and protocols that we follow, even more so, because we are first stewards of this land. And that is sovereignty to me. Being the first steward of this land, that you have to, that you're bound by that to take care of all these first foods. And we do it, I got in the gathering when I was appointed by my aunt, and she's an elder of our family. The reason why I took on that role is because I know passing it down generation to generation. It's when I was in college, a lady got up and said, well, it was inevitable that we were going to take over this land and you guys weren't going to have your ways anymore. It was inevitable. And to me, that word just rings so deep on me. And it took everything in me. I mean, everything in me to like not rage on her. But I kind of reflected on that word, inevitable, and I'm like, no, actually, it's not inevitable, because my great-grandma taught my grandma, and my grandma taught my mom, and my mom taught me, and I'm going to teach my granddaughter now. So it's not inevitable. We're still here, and we still gather, and we still practice our ways. So you may have won that war or battle, but we're along. We're still here, and we're still practicing food sovereignty. And I think that's important to understand. Thank you.
We trust in our ceremonial close today, which brought us to humility. Shirley is highly educated. She's got a master's degree in education. She's been an administrator with school systems, some of the best in the country, and Montana and Arizona. And I'm a semi-retired professor. I taught business classes here in the state of Washington for about 7 years. And I'm a master beadwork artist. I've actually got some beadwork here at the Burke Museum at the Bill Home Center. I won a national award in 2018 for my work. I'm known for making the horse trappings of the Plateau people. Because we're mobile, our horse saddles have 2 horns and a pole. Because we're carrying baskets, we're carrying game, we're carrying water, we're carrying children, and moving with the seasons. I'm going to talk about the seasons, but I'm going to backtrack to the history I started to talk about. There's tribes that live along the Columbia River. My tribe once drinks Wasco, Salivo, also Umatilla in eastern Oregon, Yakima in central Washington, and the Nez Perce in Idaho. We all originated there, and we were removed by treaty in 1855. And so we maintained the right to go and gather our foods at the river. There's 22 sites. I'll go back to Celilo Falls. March 10th, 1957, it was inundated because of that Dallas Dam. And my late dad had a lot to say about that. It wasn't nice. Because we were very wealthy people. We were like the Wall Street of America. And I have some pieces that are historical that my family gathered. And I have a bag that, as a beadwork artist, I'm able to distinguish the difference between our beadwork and other tribal beadwork. And that you wouldn't know unless you talk to some of us that do the beadwork. And so that's why I think the Burke Acknowledged me, so did the Native Arts and Cultures Foundation also. And a few years ago, it was a national award for what I do. It's a dying art. And Shirley and I are now working together. She's going to make one for her granddaughter, little tiny girl. And that's doable now, a little one. It's a big project. But I'll get back to Celilo. We were industrious people, and when the missionaries arrived, they thought the women were haughty. Who do they think they are? They're spiritual leaders, they're educators, they're businesswomen, they're doing business economically right along with men. We sold our wares too. And so it's in our blood to be entrepreneurial. In fact, I'm going to get an award in June in Portland, Oregon. Elite Entrepreneurial Spirit Award, something like that. And so it was a nice surprise. And so these foods, I had mentioned the men bring theirs in. The number one staple, because we were along the river, was the salmon. And we also gathered roots and berries and had other game to go along with it, like the deer and elk and other items. We have about 5 varieties of roots. This is my cupping. It's a digging stick, and everything is laid out on a chili mat. The chili mat represents the sacredness that we adhere to, taking care of these foods. And so by the season, the deer is next, the elk, the 5 different roots, followed by the huckleberries, the choke cherries, dried corn. We also, there's this hair that grows out of the tree, the pine trees, the moss, and we let it get dark, and then we barbecue it underground, and it looks like a black jerky we're then cooking it. Yeah, it's kind of rare. There's a handful of people that know how to do that because we're just, I don't know, distracted by other things in the world to keep track of all the ways of our living. My grandmother lived to be 104 years old, and this is what she ate. She didn't eat modern foods at all. She stayed away from it as much as possible. And she was very healthy and spry as ever. Happy grandmother. And we've had to fight for our rights on the river, for the salmon, forever. And my tribe has 22 ceded areas along the Columbia on the Oregon side, and that we are allowed to go. There's campgrounds down there with native fishermen, and it's inherited fishing rights. You can't just show up and go fishing. And so my dad was hired by the tribal council. Like grandma, he's a little rouser. He was perfect for the job. And he had to go fish at those areas, and he got put in jail every time, but our tribal attorneys got him out. And so I was in college at Portland State University back then in the late 70s, and I would go down to the fishing area And my dad taught me how to shoot a pistol. I didn't know why. He used to like to teach me how to shoot rifles. Shirley's pretty good at it, actually. I was just figuring things out, and so I had 3 uncles and my dad, my brothers, and they all had pickups. And fishing was good back then. Totes and totes and totes, giant, hundreds of salmon. And if you look back in the 1957, they said there was 22,000 salmon a day, 22,000. You could practically walk on them. The pictures show the artist drew those pictures. Today, we're lucky to get 2,000 in comparison, and it's terrible. But so I found out that my dad decided when I come home from college and go to the river, I'm going to sit in the pickup with that pistol and a spotlight. And if anybody tries to mess with our salmon, then I have to open the window and show them the pistol. Top low like a little boy. You don't want them to know I was a little tiny female. I did confront some people that were very jealous. The sportsmen and fishermen hated us. They thought that, we got away with a lot with that old decision. And they don't know what our people went through, getting thrown in jail and all of that. And so, I got through college with a silly job like that. I didn't get in trouble for carrying a pistol or anything, but that's just something that, we just took that information and we pass it on to the children so that they know what would happen. I have a calendar here that shows all the seasons. So if you start in the springtime, we're starting out with the salmon. And the chief at Solalo is my cousin, Olson Yanis Jr. He determines when the first salmon feast is going to happen. And the salmon is followed by the roots. And with climate change, the seasons are much smaller than they used to be. And the roots used to be early, now they're getting later, for example. And shorter seasons. We've got hides, furs, eel. That was my son that spoke on the lamprey eel yesterday, and Michael, and he's getting his master's degree at University of Washington. We have winter time coming around. We celebrate with storytelling in the winter time. That's when we pass on the knowledge. That's why I wore this hat. I'm a keeper of knowledge. And so when you see these hats, it's my job to teach the little ones. With the stories, roots, wild celery, salmon, trout, and a whole number of other types of foods that are listed here. But I just wanted to make sure that you got an idea about the seasonality and following the foods. Interesting to note, huckleberries have more antioxidant power than any grocery store fruit available. Yeah. They're the same family as cranberries and can help prevent urinary tract infections. Huckleberries may help protect eyesight, prevent ulcers, prevent tooth decay, help prevent cancer, protect the body and brain from the effects of aging, preserve memory, and balance into old age. The huckleberry. And it's in the high mountains. It's really sweet. And I just heard one of the professors talk about 18 varieties of huckleberries. That was a new one on me. But yeah, I learned something at the conference. Deer and elk meat have 75% less fat and twice as much iron as ground beef. The low fat helps keep your blood vessels clear of cholesterol. The iron keeps your blood strong, carrying oxygen throughout your body. So we try to encourage the kids to build iron up and to be strong and healthy with our foods. And so these are a few benefits. Oregon State University professors actually did all the nutritional content for my tribe. And well, they were forced to because we took them to court for it. So they helped us out with some good information, which, was good.
So Aurolyn is right after OSU gave us the nutritional value. As Aurolyn said, I was administrator of our early childhood education center. And you talk about battling. Yes, we finished the course, so I try to implement our traditional foods into our early childhood education program because the little ones are impressionable and they retain a lot. That's when you retain the most as far as when you're growing and remembering things. So we wanted to jump on that right away and say, okay, well, you guys, the USDA program, I don't know if you guys ever ate school lunches, and I'm pretty sure you did. Prison lunches could be the same, comparison. Those are not quality foods. So when we were trying to implement, what I was trying to do was set up where we could at least have our traditional foods introduced and reimbursed, because we didn't have to purchase our food through the USDA program. And like I said, the quality wasn't there. Our natural foods we grew right there in our backyard, right on our reservation. And so it took 3 years before our early Head Start program and our Head Start program got to taste their very first traditional meal in an education setting. And can you imagine, this is in 2008. I don't understand why it was so hard to get this pure natural food set at the tables of our children. Can you imagine if all our kids got to be introduced to this kind of food? Their brains, their development, everything would be so much different. And so we're grateful for that. I'm grateful that I was part of that program and get that initiated into our early childhood education center. So now they have when we feast, after our root feast or our salmon feast or our huckleberry feast, the early childhood education, they get a mock feast too. Like they actually get to do their own, the little children, the little boys get to serve the salmon and the deer. And just like it's set up, that's exactly how we set our table up. Our salmon comes first, our deer meat. So there's a protocol to all of that. And our kids are learning at a very young age. And not only they're learning, and we keep throwing this word sovereignty around, right? And when I was going to college, a professor told me what sovereignty is the ability to make, implement, and practice your own law. That's what sovereignty is. So if you're not practicing that, if you're not practicing the laws that you make, then what's sovereignty worth, right? So that's why it was so important that we got our food on that table, because we still practice that. We practice it in our longhouses, we practice it. But what about our children? They need to practice too, because they're going to carry this on. So that's why it was so detrimental that we get that into our programs. Because they're trying to say, no, we're going to separate church and state. We're not a church. This is our way of life. You guys have churches. We don't have churches. This is who we are. So it was 2008, can you imagine? I don't even like to say the C word. But when Columbus, I mean, you think about how long. I mean, that we couldn't even have food, our food that we gather for our children. That is outrageous to me. That is insane to me. So I'm grateful now. And it's, I mean, when you're fighting a good fight, you gotta humble yourself, because you gotta remember not to, go so far or it just ruins it for everybody. So I'm grateful now that our foods are in our early childhood. And I encourage all of you to go back and if you have any early childhood education programs on your reservations or wherever you're from, to make sure that they're getting that nutritional value and they're not just taking the USDA food and start practicing your sovereignty, start practicing your food sovereignty at the very, very lowest level that you can, the very earliest level that you can. I encourage that. Thank you.